Well, I'm going to kick us off, and I'm sure that people will be joining as we go along the way. But just good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you so much for joining our session today. It's the second Q&A session for the Activate AI Economic Opportunity Challenge. And we're really just excited to discover your work through the applications for this challenge, to help answer any questions, to facilitate your application process, and really just to discover these exciting things happening in the world. So I will be leading today. My name's Shubhi, and I'm joined by my colleague Joanne, but we'll get into that as a part of our agenda. As I said, we're going to go through the Activate AI challenge today, just to tell you a little bit more about the intentions behind it, the kind of applications we're looking for, what our goals are. We'll talk about the application process. We're using something called Award Force. We're going to talk about a little bit about the review process, how your applications are going to be reviewed, frequently asked questions that we have on our website as well. But we'll go through a bit of that with you today. And then any questions that you may have after this, clarifications, we're here to talk about that. Like I said, my name's Shubhi Vijay. I'm manager of product and marketing at data.org. I've been here a little over 2 years, spent a decade in the philanthropic field working on program management, advocacy, communications, and policy. I live in Toronto, Canada, and I'm joined by my colleague Joanne. She's based out of Boston and manages partnership and product, and we're co-leading the management of this challenge for data.org today. So just to give you a quick overview, and of course, please, if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A functionality in the chat. Joanne's going to help me monitor that, but we'll get to it later as well. We have a few slides for you today, and then we'll get to our Q&A. So thank you for your patience. Just to go back, we are supported by Zoom Cares for this challenge. They've committed 10 million for AI education and awareness building. And, we look at challenges as an engine of discovery. Like I said earlier, we look at that as a way to discover the exciting work happening around the world. And with this one, with Zoom Cares, really just expands on access to AI education and opportunity. By 2032, Data.org is committed to train 1 million purpose-driven data practitioners to help improve the quality of life for people everywhere. And through that work, we're hoping that some of the solutions that we supported through our other challenges so far and what we will do with all of you moving forward will help add to that. Our mission has been simple: creating access, democratizing data for good for the past 5 years now. And just to tell you a little bit more about the organization, we work on three primary principles: cases, capacity, and commons. The first one is what we're talking to you about today, which is our global innovation challenges. We've done five so far. And through that, we actually really highlight these strategies that work in data and AI, help amplify the good work that's happening on the ground. And we're hoping that we showcase solutions that can be adopted across the world. Um, we have capacity. A lot of our work through that is through our hubs globally. We have five of them, capacity accelerator networks. There's one in India, there's one in the APAC region, there's one in the US. So I encourage all of you to read through more of that on our website. But it also augments our goal of training more practitioners. And through that, we've created many, many resources, which is what brings us to common: open access resources, playbooks, guides, courses that any one of you can access. So I encourage you to look at our resource library today at some point, and access some of these resources and tools that we've created for the social impact field. So now to get into what we're talking about today is the Activate AI Challenge. Our goals are pretty straightforward, as you'll see on the screen. I'm not going to read through each and everything, but it's important to remember that the kind of solutions that are community oriented and rooted in AI and data we're looking for is driving workforce development and organizational capacity, creating pathways to future-friendly jobs that leverage this new technology, and thinking about climate, building climate resilient communities to contribute to a green economy. So these are the kind of principles, goals, and solutions that we're trying to adopt through this challenge. We're also hoping that part of this will help drive the practice of responsible AI, and keep the focus on economic opportunity that is climate aware and locally informed. That is the big focus for this challenge. In the past, we've had others, but there might have been a focus on skills, there might have been a focus on financial inclusion. This one focuses a lot more on economic opportunity. And they really then, as I said earlier, we're looking to source innovation from communities around the world. Look at your expertise. You're doing the great work on the ground. We want to help discover it, highlight it, and scale it. Some of the criteria that I'll flag for you, that you'll be evaluated on, your proposals will be evaluated on, is what is the problem that you're trying to solve? What is that solution? And what makes it truly unique? I think it's really important to highlight what is different, that differentiating factor, how will it help advance economic opportunity? We look for that answer to understand what you're proposing, where will it go, and that it hasn't been done already. If it's, or we want to be able to scale some of the new innovative work that's happening on the ground. Localism is another important aspect of this evaluation process. We're looking at how you've co-created with your community or user groups, what challenges did you run into in trying to do that, and how you're trying to continue to do that as your idea might evolve, scale, or move from one geography to the other. Responsible AI, how can you ensure ethical data practices are being followed as you implement your solution, as you think of this project plan, and then how do you mitigate unintended harms? We understand it's a very drastically moving landscape, but there are some guardrails that we're hoping that all our applicants are able to build in, to think through some of those unintended harms that happen when we work in these vulnerable community environments. And then the technical considerations will include data use, your partners, data security. This really helps us understand what kind of technical assistance you may need, or what kind of support you're looking for, or what you want to learn more about. Because as a part of this challenge, as you all know, there is 115,000 US dollar cash amount, which is your grant amount, and then there is technical assistance that's also available for each awardee. So this award amount will be matched with experts in the field, access to resources, and of course, a great cohort and a peer network that you'll be a part of. One other element of your application will be the data maturity assessment. I'm not sure how many of you have checked our platform out, where we are working through Award Force for this application, and you'll notice that one of the questions is, please take the data maturity assessment. Please add the email address that you've used to take this. I just want to iterate that this is not going to be something that we evaluate you on. Your score there is not a factor in securing a grant or securing this award, or even making it to the next round. This truly just helps us understand where you are on your data and AI journey, and what kind of technical support should we anticipate being able to provide to this cohort of awardees as we move forward. So please check this out. This is also, again, on our website and available for you to take with or without as a part of this application process. It's a free tool and truly helps organizations map their data maturity at this point. This year, we've also added an AI element to be able to map AI maturity, that we heard from a lot of our partners in the field, that they wanted to learn a bit more about where to go with AI. So that is a part of it. It'll be a part of your application, but this will not impact your challenge scoring at the end of this process. So for the application process, our deadline is January 8th. We will be closing our portal down. So we highly encourage that you give it, ideally submit in advance. And on the day of, there can be technical issues, there can be timing for different parts of the world. But however, this is at the exact moment that the portal will shut down. It is an automatic process. We are not the ones manually being able to allow any applications post this. We truly hope that you're able to submit in time and do not run into any challenges. But feel free to do a trial run, feel free to check out AwardForce, and feel free to email us at challenge@data.org if you run into any issues. We will be using a rubric to evaluate your process applications, which will come from a lot of the parameters that I mentioned earlier about localism, and we look for clarity of answer, strength in your response, being able to supplement what you're saying with prior track record. So we build a rubric based on those parameters, and then there's a sliding scale that our reviewers will be able to check. Um, a subset of these applications in February will be asked to submit additional materials. When you get that notification, that does mean that you've moved on to the next round and we're setting up for due diligence. And there will be an interview process that goes around. We will have an expert judges panel that will be a part of these interviews. And then we have our expert judges that you know are on our website that will review your applications as an additional input to this process. We're hoping to announce our awardees in May 2026. I just wanted to flag that might feel like a long period of time from January to May, but the process is strict, and we're trying to be very mindful of the rigor behind your applications and to respect that with our multiple reviews, due diligence at our back end, financial verifications, and then to be able to move on to our judges panel. So we understand that it might feel long, but 6 months flies. We're already at the end of this year and it'll be in May. So we'll have a lot of conversations from February to May at that point with our subset as well. To jump into our FAQs, I just wanted to say that these are also on our website and we are recording the session. So if you miss something or if there's a question, we will be sending that over. On our website, there is also a section on rules, terms and conditions. You'll hear those terms as I go through these slides. It is a section that we update regularly. We will also be adding your questions to the FAQ section. So feel free to go to the Activate AI Challenge page on data.org to find your answers in more detail there if we're unable to cover it today. We'll try our best, but just wanted to make sure that you know that information is available on our website. So, what type of proposals are a good fit for this challenge? Like I said, we're looking for innovative AI applications, ideally stuff that hasn't been done already. But if you're looking to scale, we absolutely understand. We want to see proof of that great idea on the ground. We want to focus on economic opportunity and climate resilience. If your work fits into the bucket of workforce development and organizational capacity with an AI focus, if you're looking at creating future friendly jobs that leverage data and AI, if you're building climate resilient communities for a green economy using data and AI, we want to hear from you. These can be one or more. It's not that you cannot be working on all three of them. We understand that a lot of this work is dynamic in the field, but these are the buckets of applications that we're looking at. Who's eligible to apply? As you can see on the screen, you must have a charitable purpose, at least for the US-based IR, the Internal Revenue Code, any 501(c)(3)s are eligible to apply. For global organizations, I understand that it might be different. Please feel free to write to us. Or you will also see that we do not support any political lobbying purposes as a part of this challenge. That is not the focus. We're looking for solutions on the ground that look at building capacity and economic opportunity and resilience. There are a few countries that we will not be able to accept applications from due to simply the rules that are set in stone by our finance team and to be able to work across borders with them. This is a year-long challenge. It's not something that's running for 10 years. So there are some limitations on the countries that we can quickly implement with. You can find a lot more information on this in the terms and conditions page of our challenge. Like I said earlier, each awardee will receive 115,000 US dollar cash award, and then this will be supported by technical assistance. This will be like a grant award, not just a blank check. There is a grant proposal at the end of it, a budget, a timeline of activities, but this is the funding amount available to each awardee. Absolutely. We're not just looking at an AI proposal. We really encourage that you specify the use of AI in your proposal. How are you leveraging data and AI? That is what we want to know. But we see it every day in our work and yours that AI is a part of a larger plan, and that's completely understandable. Please do apply. Unfortunately, for this challenge, we are not able to accept individual applications. All applicants must be an organization. You could be a university, you could be a research institute, a social enterprise, a not-for-profit. We encourage all sorts of organizations to apply, but individuals will not be considered, and the rules of the challenge are very clear on that. You will be able to see that on our website. We would encourage you to submit one. We are limiting our the current ability to review and consider these applications limits to one entry to the challenge. We understand that universities and multilateral organizations do often have many multiple running programs that might be separate project teams as well. There might be separate project directors as well. And these entries have to be very, very distinct without any scope of overlap in the proposal or the project team. So that is a very fine line. And we consider it on a case by case basis if we hear from the universities and multilaterals before they submit. So if you do know that within your organization there are two or three teams applying, please notify us and please give us an explanation so that we can actually take that up with our internal panel. We think that it would be best that your funding indirect or direct overhead costs up to 15% of the approved grant amount. Anything greater than that has to be approved by case basis. A budget template will be provided, so you will see at the later stage how this breaks down. But we highly recommend that you provide us enough detail on these indirect costs, what the funding will be used for, and we truly at this point cannot guarantee that anything above 15% will be approved. So the next steps are that you will be able to find the application, the FAQs, challenge rules, terms and conditions on our website, data.org/challenge. Activate AI is the challenge that we've spoken about this morning. Any additional questions, please feel free to write to us at challenge@data.org. I also recommend that these opportunities, updates, they come out in our newsletters first. So please do subscribe and we will make sure that you hear about it before it goes live on any other platforms. And then we have our LinkedIn page. That is the other social media platform that we try to keep as updated as possible. A lot of the chatter, a lot of the conversation happens there. So please do follow us. And like I said, we will be updating our FAQ section on our website with your questions today, and we will be putting up a recording as well. So hopefully you'll be able to find that of help. And I will now pause for any questions, answers from the audience. I know it was a lot of slides, but we're hoping we can talk about it a bit more through the chat functionality.
Should be. So I am looking at the Q&A, so encourage folks to keep putting in your questions and we'll go through them. So one of our questions that we have should be is, are for-profit companies eligible to apply?
I think that in the past we've seen great applications from social enterprises. If you are a for-profit social enterprise with a very, very clear social impact element, if you are working on a project that directly benefits a community on building their climate resilience, do feel free to write to us. We can consider that on a case by case basis, but it has always been social enterprises that have a for-profit element working largely to make social impact in the communities they work in. Last year, we had a company that works, well, they do sell honey in large markets, but their primary model as social enterprises, farmer resilience, building farmer education, awareness, data training for farmers, and keeping sustainable livelihoods at the center of the beekeeping community. And that was something that we approved, and they were a part of our cohort. They run a foundation, they have their for-profit arm. So that is the only kind of example that I can think of at this moment for any for-profits.
And so also to go back to a slide that Shubi said earlier, essentially there has to be two or three requirements. So you must have charitable purpose and you must not use any of the grant monies for political lobbying. And then finally, you must be located outside of the countries that Shubi named earlier. So this is again in the terms and conditions, but for-profit companies are eligible as long as you meet these criteria. The next question I have, Shubi, is do you have specific geographic focus in terms of beneficiaries?
No, we're open to all countries other than the ones that were mentioned on the slide. We're really looking forward to hear from you all around the world. And again, last year we had someone from Colombia, from India, from Southeast Asia. We're very open, Ethiopia, Bangladesh. Like, feel free to write to us. We're very excited to hear about the exciting work in different parts of the world.
All right. One other question that I'm seeing is again, along this eligibility. We are researchers from university. What is the protocol for us to be eligible to apply?
I would say that if your solution fits any of the buckets that you've seen highlighted about workforce development, building climate resilience, building economic opportunity, feel free to apply. Um, we are looking at implementation on the ground. We are not at this stage supporting research projects, purely academic research projects. There has to be an implementation element to this. But feel free to write to us with more detail if that helps, and we can try to answer that. Joanne, anything that you would add from the previous challenges?
No, I think you covered everything. Again, and I would just reiterate, we are very responsive at the challenge@data.org account. So if you have questions that we don't get to today, feel free to follow up and we will get back to you. All right. So another question I see is s- specifically about the projects and the projects that are being submitted. So one question I'm seeing is, I notice we're seeking projects that drive AI workforce development and organizational capacity. We're considering a project that primarily uses AI, etc. Does this align with your funding goals? And Shubi, I was hoping you to share a little bit more about project types and if someone has a specific question about a specific project, how we usually respond to that.
Um, yes, so let me just get in and say that we actually cannot comment on specific project types, project details, proposal ideas. We are a part of the team and we will be a part of the team evaluating applications later as well. So at this stage, we cannot answer any specific questions about your project idea or proposal. I will add that if you feel that the work that you're doing is using AI to data and AI to leverage any of the buckets that we mentioned today, feel free to apply. It is a fairly comprehensive, but I would also say um, it's not a very cumbersome form. It is a comprehensive form, and we encourage you to apply and build a case for it. Be as specific as possible, be as clear as possible about the unique differentiating factor. We have in the past supported, like I said, scales. And scaling projects, we've supported large teams trying to do community awareness and building. So there's really no one clear answer there. But I encourage you to apply if you can build a case that data and AI is being used in those ways.
And to add on to what Shibi was saying is we don't have prescriptive types of projects that we're looking for. We're really trying to understand from you all on the ground who are local to your communities and have insights into the solutions that would benefit your communities, what is going to work. So, um, reiterating what Shibi said, as long as you can make the argument that your project fits into one of the three directives that she mentioned earlier, you are eligible and your project is a fit. So, not necessarily, the three requirements make you eligible, but your project is a fit if you could make the argument that your solution advances one or more of the pathways. So, really encourage folks to apply um, and share with us all the insights that you have on the ground. Another question, Shubi, I'm seeing is about budgets, timelines, etc. So one question I saw was, do we need to include a full budget for the January 8th timeline?
I would say that please go into the platform and there's a template and the answers we want. At this moment, we're not asking for a very detailed budget, but Joanne, you can correct me on this, but there is a template. You will be able to answer some of that questions there, but a detailed budget will come in after the February notification.
Yes. And so this is a great question. We understand that you're submitting budgets now and awardees won't be announced until May. We understand things might shift, things might move. And so just give us your best idea of what the budget would look like. And then if you move on to the next round, we'll ask for more details then. On a similar note, for the project timeline purposes, should we work with June 2026 to June 2027?
That's a great question, actually. I think that makes sense for you. Because we do imagine that we'll announce in May, and the fund disbursement takes a little bit of turnaround time. So that makes a lot of sense. We don't have any hard start or end dates. We look at you to build an annual plan that would end at a reasonable amount of time from receipt of these funds.
Another question I'm seeing is for geography. Do you prioritize projects with global impact? Do projects with only impact for United States? Are projects with impact only for the United States will be considered?
Yes, all projects will be considered. You could have an idea that would be something that you think will be implemented in 5 countries. You could have an idea that is something that would be implemented in one district in your home country. We are not limited by geography at all. We encourage everyone to be able to apply from any part of it.
And I would add that if you look earlier in one of our slides, one of our focuses is localism. So if it's a global organization, that's great, but how are you ensuring that your solution is local to the communities and best serving what their needs are? Another great question about intellectual property. So in the context of a for-profit company, can you shed some light on the requirements of the grant with respect to IP? The rules indicate that the nature of any IP stipulations will be flexible and will consider your project's unique structure and goals. Can you share anything else about that?
Um, I'm not, Joanne, I'm not particularly sure about,
I can also share, yeah.
yeah.
So we will work with your organization if there are specific things about IP. One of the things that we do like to share are anything that is open source. So that doesn't necessarily mean proprietary information. It could mean learnings from your project or best practices shared for your specific solution. Um, if you are using something that is very important to your company for IP, we are not asking that to be open source. We're just asking for you to contribute to the greater community in what way, and we can work with you on that in terms of what makes the most sense for your company. Um, Another question I have is, do you have an estimate of the number of awards you plan to make this cycle?
We are hoping to award up to 5. That is our maximum number of awardees for this cycle.
One question I'm seeing is, should the implementation solution at the end of 1 year period have to be ready to be used by the target users, or can it be proof of concept?
I would encourage you to have something that's ready. At this stage, we're not supporting pilots, and unless you can specify and build out in your proposal that your idea is not being tested, like it's not in a testing phase and actually something that you're scaling or iterating on, then it would be that would be okay. So I would encourage that it's something that's ready or at least has some learnings on the ground from versus a idea that's an idea stage that's moving to a prototype, any of that sort.
One question I see is, can you talk more about your re-granting limitation?
John, I'm going to give that one to you as well.
Yeah, so if you have a specific situation, feel free to email challenge at and we'll talk to our finance team. But for almost every case, we limit re-granting to 50% of the budget. Another question I see is, will the rubric be shared with prospective applicants so we can ensure we're writing strongly across the criteria?
We, like I said, it's a sliding scale. We will not be sharing that rubric with everyone at this moment. In the past, we have that information on our website. Please feel free. All I encourage is that we look for clarity. Please make your answers as clear, concise as possible. Be able to show the link between data and AI in a strong way in your responses. And lastly, I would say there are some word limits in your application. Please pay attention to that. A lot of times we get incomplete responses or people are unable to answer in that fashion. So try to um, try to pay heed to those limits when you're on the platform. Joanne, would you like to add something there?
Yes, and I was just trying to find a slide for that. Doo-doo. So for the rubric, we don't share that ahead of time because we want to make sure that the reviewers are as impartial as possible. We don't want it to give anyone an advantage prior to their submission. But Shubi went through the specific pillars that we're interested in earlier. So um, you'll be evaluated based on your proposed solution, localism, responsible AI, and technical considerations. And as long as your commitment to those things come through in your answers, I think you will have a solid ground to fit on. So the rubric is not necessarily we're not trying to get you. And, if you miss a specific sentence about a specific requirement, that's not what the rubric is for. It's really just to help guide the reviewers to align on how we're evaluating each application. Um, Another question I'm seeing is, should the impact be related to climate or could it be any kind of social impact?
I would say that at this moment, climate is an important lens to our work, but it's not the only lens to the work. So if you're looking at economic opportunity and can show us that link with data and AI, that's great and leading to social impact. We highlighted three pathways about building workforce development, organizational capacity, building climate resilient communities. So this, it could be one and more, or it could be all three. That we leave up to you.
Another question I'm seeing is, sorry, just had it and then I lost it. Let's see. So we have a lot of questions again about pilot phases. Um, You'll see in the application that you get to select whether your specific solution is in pilot, scale, or replication phase. Again, encourage you to apply. There is another question in the written application to share about proof of concept of your specific solution, evidence that it's working. So I would say that pilots are accepted, but there needs to be some sort of evidence that it is going to be successful in the future. So um, I have seen a bunch of questions about that, and I hope that answers it. If not, again, email challenge@data.org. Shubi and I respond fairly quickly to individual one-off questions.
Let me just,
And
Joanne, maybe I'll add on to that. I don't mean to create any confusion about acceptance of pilots. When I was talking earlier, we've had some questions where people have a concept note. It's a written document that they would like now to start building, try, take to funders. We're unable to support that in a 1 year grant framing. If you have a pilot with some, you want to pilot a solution that you've tested in 20 communities and want to take it to 200, or you are at a stage where you're like, we're designing something, we've built this, we want to add another element and then now try. For you might have two things already set. The third thing is more of an AI lens that you want to bring in. That those are acceptable. We've just had a lot of ideation questions that we're trying to think through, and we want to run a workshop to build that idea up. We're unable to support that at this point. But if you have a existing solution on the ground that you might want to develop further or scale further, those are also absolutely fine. And like I said, you will see in our application form, Joanne was mentioning pilot, replicate, scale, and definitions to support your support your application there as well. So I hope that clarifies a little bit about the pilot.
another question, Shubi, I'm seeing is, would a proposal focused on enabling AI adoption within our own organization, so internal tooling, capacity building, etc., be considered eligible, or does the challenge require solutions that are externally facing for beneficiaries?
That's a great question, and I'm glad someone picked up on the organizational capacity piece that we had mentioned earlier because those proposals will be accepted. We understand that a lot of our building of our workforce now is also about upskilling and about building internal organizational capacity. We just ask that you, in your proposal, outline how building that internal capacity is helping bring in your social impact, like your social meet your social impact goals. How will that in turn translate doing your work better to be able to help to support the communities on the ground?
Yeah, and again, this is the Activate AI Economic Opportunity Challenge. So there should be a link between your organization and economic opportunity. And to reiterate something I said earlier, as long as you can make the argument that your organization or your specific proposal meets one of the three directives that should be outlined earlier, your proposal fits into the type of solution we're looking for. Um, Another question I'll just answer I'm seeing in the chat is, do you have a list of previously funded projects somewhere? And yes, we do. So if you just look at our website, data.org, and navigate to the innovation challenges, you'll see all the previously funded awardees for each challenge. Um, Another question I'm seeing is, what is the rationale behind what seems to be a lower funding amount from 200,000 in the past two rounds? Are you expecting to fund more organizations? Do you want to share, Shabir?
I mean, uh, we work with our donors to understand the amounts that are available. So we don't decide. We work with each challenge has been supported with a generous funding from our partners, and this is an amount that we work together to be able to deploy. The only other thing I will add, and then Joanna, happy to have you chime in as well, is that we've also seen the absorption capacity for a lot of these amounts vary based on organizations in a relatively shorter time frame. So there has been feedback in the past that it's not feasible to work with larger amounts, etc. So we're also very mindful of what we hear from our previous partners. But at the end of the day, it's truly a decision that we make with our funders and come to an agreement on the table. And we're hoping that this time we're able to award up to five, which includes just that is a number that we want to be able to reach and be able to support to actually see some impact on the ground. Joanne, anything you would add?
I wouldn't add anything. I think you covered it. It's not necessarily Data.org's decision, and it's really up to um, a lot of different factors, external and internal. And so, um, as Shubi said earlier, we will fund at least five organizations for this specific challenge. Another question I'm seeing, Shubi, is do you consider global scale virtual projects or only in-personal, regional, and country level projects? Asking since there is a big localism component.
I think that's a great idea, and I'm very intrigued by what that looks like. I would encourage if you could write to us one-on-one. The short answer is this does not disqualify your proposal. Please feel free to apply, feel free to pitch your idea. Seems like there is a localism element, there's a data and AI element, there's a skilling element. But if there's anything specific that you would want a response for, please write to us. There is no mandated need for the on ground, like you must be meeting all these people that you're training in person.
And to clarify something that I just said, yes, it is at least five. So at least five organizations will be funded, not up to five. So five organizations at least will be funded during this challenge.
Thank you for clarifying, Joanne.
Problem. Can you share more about the prior experience slash record? How much of the prior experience do we need?
I think that for us, the proposals that have been successful in the past have been where they have mentioned prior experience of working with the community, prior experience of working in social impact, prior experience of trying new solutions with data and AI. We understand that not every applicant is going to be an AI expert. We understand that not every applicant is tech forward, but in any of these parameters, they've shown great experience and rigor on the ground to be able to, and also build that credibility on the ground to be able to implement that solution. I hope that clarifies a bit more.
I'm seeing a few questions about past awardees applying again for this new challenge. I would say that as long as you meet the three criteria for eligibility, in that your project is for social good, you're not using the grants for lobbying, political lobbying, and you're not working in any of the countries that we're unable to support right now, you are eligible to apply. Past awardees are not, they're not excluded for any reason. If you have specific questions about your status, feel free to email challenge@data.org. Um, Question about solution. How do you define a solution? Are you expecting a tangible product, a digital tool, or can it be a methodology or training model itself to be considered a core innovation?
All of these work. We are not limiting in our understanding of a solution. Like whoever put this great question in the chat, it could be a new training model to change the way that you work with students in a particular economy. It could be a product that you've developed and would like to use to scale people. In the past, we've seen specialized AI bots that are helping spread sexual and reproductive health awareness in conservative communities. All of them work.
Right. Still going through these questions.
Thank you so much for being an engaging audience. It's lovely to get these in the chat and to be able to help answer them live. And I'm hoping that this helps clarify anything that might be maybe making you hesitate from applying.
I see a question about partnerships, and I would just add, so we do require that one organization be that lead organization. So it's great that you have partners. We have an application question to share what partners you're planning to work with. But there needs to be one lead applicant, and you can choose amongst yourselves who that lead applicant is. But it is possible to apply with partners. It's just one organization needs to receive the grant monies, and then they would disperse them. So I hope that answers that question. One question I see is drive AI workforce development. What do we mean when we say that? Do you mean using AI to drive workforce development, or do you specifically mean working on developing the AI workforce space? Would love more clarity on this directive.
To be honest, both of these scenarios apply. In our understanding, it could be that people are already a part of the AI workforce in the sense that they're working on training, developing, or using AI models, and your proposed solution is helping them be better at what they do. It could also be that you're looking at a community that has no AI awareness at this point, and you want to skill them for the jobs of the future, which will require a certain level of tech, data, or AI familiarity. So that we look at workforce development as anything that equips people to be able to stay employed, retain employment, to upskill themselves, to be a part of the workforce for the future.
We're getting a lot of questions about the phase of the solution. So we're in pilot phase. We might have some results. We're trying to impact more people. Is this eligible? Um, and maybe Shubi, you can just reiterate about the stage of the project and what we're looking for. I would say that we're not very prescriptive about the specific solutions we're looking for. So as long as you can make the argument that your proposal fits into one of the three directives, that you have proven to be successful in some area, I would say it applies, or it is eligible to apply. Anything else, Shubi, you want to say about the stage of the solution?
I would say that we will add more on this on our FAQ section. I think we can expand on this a bit more there to have a written response. But again, I would say that Joanne's very right in saying we're not as prescriptive, we're not as strict about it must fit a scaling because scale also varies. We've had applications where folks have been working with 5 schools and now want to be able to work with universities in the entire country. That scale. There's also places where we've seen folks who've been working with 100 farmers and now want to take their idea, their project to 200 farming communities. So we're not very stuck on these numbers. The even when we talk about pilots, we are truly saying that it should not be something that's just a concept note or an idea and has no proof of being developed, being seen, or being even tried with a small group of folks. There has to be something that is informing that product design or service design or solution design. But we can, I take note of the fact that this is something that's causing confusion, and we'll try to add more on that in the FAQ section.
And again, if you have a specific question that we didn't reach or didn't get to, please email us at challenge@data.org so we can get back to you. I see a great question about, could you please clarify whether the proposal is required to include an AI solution in the form of a dedicated application or mobile app, or if alternative implementation models such as process improvements, platforms, or service-based approaches are acceptable?
My gut says both. I think both work for us. We are, again, not trying to limit in any way. So the idea of implementing better process frameworks, great, it as long as you can show us a tie to how that's going to improve the data and AI infrastructure, or how you're implementing what exists to be able to do that, please feel free to add to that. If you're looking at specific AI product in your work, in your project design, that is absolutely permittable as well, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Yes, and just to double click on what Shubi said, both those types of AI solutions are great. So if it's an app, that's great. But if you have another way you're using AI innovatively, we would love to hear about it. Because again, we're seeing you all as the experts in your local communities, and we want to surface that and share that with the broader Data for Good, AI for Good community. And I think as much as you can share about the work you're doing, we definitely want to share with others. I see another question about the regranting rule. Just to reiterate, the regranting limit is 50% of the budget. So if you have extenuating circumstances that are not, that would, if you have extenuating circumstances you would like to share with us about the budget, please email challenge@data.org and we can follow up with you directly. Um, Let's see what else. And so we have about 13 minutes left. If I somehow missed your question, please retype it. Um, and so we make sure we don't miss it. So I see the follow-up question is, does re-granting include disbursements on a partnered proposal? I'm not quite sure I understand this question, but the re-granting would be a limit of 50% of the budget to external partners. If I'm not answering your question, please email challenge@data.org and we can follow up individually. But um, I hope that answers it. But if not, we can definitely take care of that. Next question is, do I'm seeing some repeat questions about for profits being eligible. Yes, for profits are eligible as long as you meet the three criteria. Um, do, do. I see some repeat questions about global scale versus in-person, regional, and country. I believe we answered that. Um, One question I see, I'm not quite sure what the question is asking. So it is, will this opportunity be offered in a new cycle in 2026 or future? Shubi, I'm not sure if you understand this question.
Well, I'm taking it two ways. One is that if this audience member is asking, will we have another challenge? We are right now, this is the only running challenge that we have. We're not sure if there's going to be another one next year. We have done a few of them in the past, so we're hopeful that we'll be able to offer that. The other thing that I am taking from this question is that maybe perhaps you mean, will your project cycle, does it have to be a new project cycle, or can an existing project cycle go into 2026 with this opportunity? Yes, that is perfectly allowed. We don't expect a full new project to kick off for every applicant. But again, if you've not understood your question, please do write to us and we'll get back to you as quickly as we can.
Again, I'm seeing another question about for-profits applying. Yes, you're eligible, even if you don't have charitable status. That is not one of the requirements for eligibility. So, for-profits again are eligible to apply as long as you meet the three criteria, which are your project is for charitable purpose, which you can see in the terms and conditions. You're not using the monies for political lobbying, and you're not working in the three, or sorry, you're not working in any of the countries that are outlined in the terms and conditions that we are unable to support right now. Um, One question that I think is great is if you had to name the most common misconception applicants have about the challenge, what would it be so we can ensure our proposal aligns? And I'll give you some time to think about this, Shubi, but what immediately comes to mind is we get a lot of questions are we eligible? Does this proposal fit? And I think those are the top two, I would say. And our response is usually you're eligible as long as you meet those really broad criteria. So a lot of projects fit in, even if you're for profit, even if you have proprietary information that you're not able to share, you're still eligible to apply. And then the second piece is, does our proposal fit? And again, I would say that we at data.org are not experts in the local communities that you're experts in. And so we are not very prescriptive about the types of solutions that we're looking for, about what is the perfect project. We really look uh, at the with or about at the battery of applications at large, and we try to pick out the ones that are unique and local to their specific settings. So as long as you can make the argument, I've said this many times, that it fits one of the three directives that Shubi shared earlier, your project fits. And if you have really specific questions, please follow up with us. But that's how I would describe it. Shubi, anything to add?
I think one thing that I'll add is that and this is going back to what I said earlier about what your applications are being evaluated upon, when I think people often will, in a rush, assume that the connection to data and AI is very simple, very clear, just because they're saying we have data tools or we use an AI agent, and that's perfectly fine. But for a strong answer, we're looking for you to really clarify how it is important part of your work. How are you going to use it? So, what seems like everybody must know this kind of information, we think it would be best if you take a minute to really underscore that connection, really build out your responses in a strong way instead of just dropping mentions. We're looking for those connections. That's one of the things that we evaluate on. But other than that, I think, Joanne, you covered most of it.
And that's a great point, Shubi. If you look at our expert judge panel, which is on our website, you'll see that we have a lot of folks who are experts in social impact, but as well as AI. So, as well as data and AI, more specifically. So, we do want to hear a little bit more beyond we're making an AI app. We want to hear a little bit more about the technical piece to make sure that we're funding things that are going to be solid solutions. I have a great question about monitoring and evaluation. Could you please share what the process is for awarded projects? Specifically, what are the expected reporting periods, requirements for progress updates, and financial accountability procedures? And I'm happy to take that, Shubi. So if you are an awardee, we do ask for quarterly check-ins, which is just a virtual call. And then we'll have a midway point report that includes a financial report, as well as end of year report or end of grant report that includes a financial report. So we are try to be really cognizant of the time and the ask that reporting requires. And we try to make it as streamlined as possible for everyone who is an awardee. Another question I see is Mo- most are must our impact be to improve revenue generation of the audience or impact to improve their job using AI? And I would say either. We're not very specific about how you're reaching economic opportunity or increasing opportunity. It could be improving revenue generation if you're working with small businesses and entrepreneurs, or it could be using AI to improve their jobs, so improving their skill set. Both are eligible. Another quick question I saw is on the future funding cycle question. The question is, do you anticipate additional/future opportunities being offered in 2026 and beyond? And Shubi answered this earlier, but to reiterate, this is the current challenge that we're working on. Um, we would love to be able to offer future challenges, but we don't have any sort of information about that now. So encourage everyone to apply to this challenge. But it is, as Shubi said in the beginning, our model is innovation challenges. That is one of the three C's. So we do actively try to um, encourage funders to invest in this type of model. So, there's no information to share at this point, but it is something that we are actively pursuing. And so if I haven't gotten to your question, please repeat it or send us an email because we are nearing the time. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I did not hit. One question I see, Shubi, is how many applications do you roughly receive for your calls? Can you share information about the win rate? Which
So
I don't have off the top of my head, but
I
should be
was gonna
anything to
say,
share.
well, I will say that we see different range of applications come in with every different challenge. We've seen upwards of 500 for one, upwards of 200 for another one. So there's really no one magic number. What we can commit to is that the number of awards will be five, and that is what we're trying to get to. So it doesn't matter how many we get, we're trying to get to this number. And for the interview rounds, we try to multiply that at least by a minimum of three to four to be able to give a good gauge and a good reference point for our applications, and for our judges to see what really came in and came out of this. So there's really no one magic number. What we can commit to is there will be five awards, and we encourage as many people to apply. We're set up to review more.
I think another thing is I encourage folks to apply because the awardees, of course, get the cash grant, but there are other supports and resources that we can offer to the wider pool of applicants. So, in the past, we partnered with EY to offer workshops, free workshops for all applicants for our challenges. So, it's great just to be in our community and our network so we can continue to share the resources and opportunities that we hear from folks, our partners, with so we can continue to share the resources and partner opportunities that we hear from our partners with you all. So I really think it's great to apply and just join our network and our community so we can stay in touch. Um, I see another question about a concept phase. Unfortunately, concept phase is not eligible to apply. So if it's a pilot, that's great. If it's just a concept and there's been no proof of the concept, that we're not currently funding those ideas right now. And we have 2 minutes left, so I'm just going to find the last question. Oh, this is a good question. In this cycle of award, are you allocating based on region, continents, or do you review all irrespective of geographic locations?
We review all irrespective of geographic locations. Like I said, we're not limited by any geography or other than the countries that we're unable to award to. That is something that we mentioned earlier. It's a part of our rules and terms and conditions. You can find that on our website, but we will not be allocating based on geography.
Yes. So, if you have a solution and in specific geography and you're not sure we're gonna be able to award, as long as you're not supporting those specific countries, you're more than eligible. And yeah, we just want to hear the best ideas. So please send in your applications. And I think with that, we'll close out. Again, if we didn't get to your question, please email us at challenge@data.org. We really appreciate everyone joining today. Um, I will say personally, challenges are one of the most rewarding parts about my job at data.org, and I love writing them and working on them. So I hope I read all your applications and get to hear about your great ideas. And I'll pass it back to you, Shubi.
Great. Thank you so much, Joanne, for helping us. Thank you, everyone, for being, like I said, engaged audience with your questions, for your time this morning, afternoon, evening, where you're dialing in from. We truly encourage you to write to us if we missed anything. We're at challenge@data.org. But I'll just close by saying thank you, and we really look forward to receiving your applications and being able to work with some of you in the future. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your days and evenings.